I'm so happy that we're back for a live show episode today. And who's ready to fire up this week with our passion, our intention, our creative genius? We ready to get in the genius zone? Anybody ready? Okay, amazing. So, we're going to do today's episode on, is it worth it to write a book? Okay. Now, those of you who are, in Thought Leader Academy, or you've trained with us before, you're veteran book writers, you've got your answer to this, yes or no. Some of you are thinking about it. Some of you are early in the stages of writing. Some of you are like, I don't know. I'm just on social media and I'm watching this on Instagram, and I'm just gonna, kind of take the ride. Okay. So I want to do is because I get asked, like, again, in direct messages on some of our social platforms, two questions that I get a lot that I thought we would take today to explore together are, is writing a book worth it? And the other question is, like, it's almost like that's a big picture theoretical, is just in general writing a book worth it, but is it worth it for me? Like, will it give the results that I'm hoping it will give? Will it sort of open the doors that I'm hoping it will open? Like, those are some, and then we get lots of questions about, how to write it and all of that. So the reason I want to devote today's episode to this question is because sometimes we ask this, we hear people writing books and think, is that really worth it? Sometimes we ask it because we've started a book and think, oh, this has taken some work, this is challenging, whatever. And then sometimes we are getting ready to launch and we think, oh my God, was this worth it? Everything I've invested and put in, my heart, my soul, my time, my money, all the things. Okay. So if you are brand new to our community and you're watching on socials, like, we're going to help bring some clarity. Those of you that are in the process, or you've already written a book, you're thinking about writing a next book, this is a great opportunity for clarity and discernment. All right. So let's take a deep breath together, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And my personal belief, after, being an author, I've written 5 best-selling books and been an author for, my God, 15, 20 years at this point, and coaching thousands of people around the world on the topic of writing books and creating the business and mission and movement behind the book. I know my answer to this, right? And I also always start, because it's not about me. I have my answer to this question. I obviously have written 5 and I'm writing another one. So we all know my answer is yes. But the most important thing is, what's your answer? Whatever stage of this process you might be in, whatever stage in the journey. And to answer that question, I don't start with the worth it. I start with, what is your ideal outcome or outcomes from writing a book that you want? So I want everybody watching today to be thinking about this and be thinking about, what do you, if you are thinking about doing a book, you're already in the process, or you have a book, what do you want that book to do for you and others and the world? All right. So we're going to take a minute and just explore that, because until we've answered that question for ourselves at any given stage, we can't, I don't believe, answer the worth it question. Right. So those of you that train with me in Thought Leader Academy or programs like we ask this question all the time. It's how we start our boot camps. It's how we train everything, because we want you to write the book that most directly matches and is reverse engineered to fulfill your book outcomes. So I just want everyone to think about this for today. Like, what do you want your book, or your next book, your first book, whatever book it is, to do for you, others, and the world? So let's just take a minute to just bullet point down. Some of you have thought about this in depth because you're coaching with us, right? We're coaching together every week, but you haven't thought about this. And if you haven't in a while, remind yourself, what do you ideally want the book to do for you, others, and the world? So let's take a minute on that. Just give yourself a second to free write some ideas. And if you're in the live audience today, go ahead and Zoom and either say got it, if you've reminded yourself or brainstorm some of the ideal things you want the book to do for you, others, in the world, or you can even put in, if you're on social, you can put this in the comments, you can put in those outcomes if you want to celebrate them and claim them. Okay, I'm going to read the ones that go in the chat, so those of you on socials too can hear these. Martha says, I want my book to support my movement of creating awareness and to supply resources for readers to have a personalized plan to break free from jaded relationships. How beautiful, right? So we could even just look at Martha and say, with Martha's mission, it's going to bring her the opportunity. What I hear in this is impact, sharing her big magic, her gifts and talents and genius. It's going to, for others, help them break free of being jaded about relationships, closed to love, maybe bitterness. I'm just kind of riffing, Martha, on yours, so thank you for sharing. And what that's going to do for the world is more love. There'll be more partnerships. More people will be open to a relationship. Yeah. Amy, in her next book, it's an important message that's wrapped in humor. So she's going to use humor to deliver an important message. Isn't that cool, right? That's what it does for Amy. She gets to have another award-winning bestseller, fulfilling her purpose and calling as an author. For others, they get to laugh and kind of get opened up while receiving an important message. And then that message will have ripple effects. People might think differently, act differently, take, a different path based on the message she's delivered. Yeah, and people need stories of inspiration. I know I do. That's what I'm looking for, a downer right now in a book, right? That's so great. These are really, really good. Kelly wants everyone to know their power to create a life they've always dreamed of, that they can get through hard things, and the world depends, right? On the more people that create a life they love, the better this planet's going to be. People will be kinder. People don't hurt other people when they're happy, right? So Kelly, you're helping them get happy. Okay. These are beautiful. Margaret, to be a resource and guide for people healing from toxic relationships. And thank you, Margaret. You swung us into this next part, like generating speaking engagements and attracting new clients. So what do you all that are watching and listening want for yourself with a book? Is it revenue generation, speaking engagements, bringing opportunities to partner with other great leaders, right? Books are so powerful for that, right? So be thinking about that. Right. So the first part of answering, is a book worth it, is doing a book worth it, which only each of us answer for ourselves, is knowing what we would want that book to do or be. By the way, it's 11:11 in Chicago as we're broadcasting this. So that's really good energy. Okay. I'm going to share 7 doors that books have opened for me. Books that I've written have opened for me. And I want to offer these doorways so that you can see if any of these are ones you would like to have your book open for you. And or you might hear my list and it might spark different doorways that you're really excited for your book to open up for you, right? Because when people ask me to engage in this question, they say, well, like, I want to know really what's happened for you since you've written a book or books, right? So I'm just going to talk about 7 doors that have opened. This is what I felt like this is the way I would most like to answer this question that we get all the time, because then you'll know for yourself if this excites you, right? We have a phrase in Thought Leader Academy, I am one with that. So you can decide you are one with that if any of these doors are ones you want to walk through, or claim a new door that's not on my list, right? There's other doors. I just decided 7 is a fun number, and that's how many we're going to tackle today. And Julie, I'm going to read yours. Your book is to shine a light on the different types of power, yes, and help others clarify, connect, and use their power for good in the world. My God, is that needed at this time, right? We can so see how that is, what it can do for Julie, others in the world. Paige is going for revenue generation through a membership community and professional directory and marketing opportunities. Love it. Brilliant. Amazing. Okay. This is not in chronological order, because like I said, I've written 5 books at this point, but I'm just going to go with sort of a little bit of chronological and then just riff. The first door that the book opened for me is that it broke the cycle of me waiting for permission from someone else to say that I was allowed to pursue the calling of my soul. Okay. That's even before anything happens with the publication and who reads it. I didn't believe I was worthy of writing a book. I didn't believe I was allowed to write a book because I didn't have a teacher tell me that I was special and can write a book. Fill in the blank. I had this whole narrative of how you were allowed or known you're destined to be a writer. And when that script didn't play out in the way that I had internalized it from reading books and watching movies and watching TV shows, then I decided I wasn't allowed. Yeah, it's a gremlin attack. And so the first door that it opened for me is realizing that that stuff is all complete BS. None of us need someone else to tell us we're allowed or worthy to pursue a calling of our heart. It was love, Martha. That's right. Love is the first door. An act of self-love and faith that if you have the calling to write a book, I don't even believe that it just means you're worthy. You're all worthy. I believe there are people that are calling that book forth in the world. I believe that book big magic hits, the spark of your book idea is a call and response. And so we're not just writing the book for ourselves. I don't believe that. So when people are like, oh, I don't know if people will read, someone's calling that book forth because the idea came and the universe said, Kelly, will you write me? Margaret, I'd be so grateful. We got to get this message out. Julie, we got to have people talking about power. Christina, Paige, Martha, all of you, Shannon, Heike, Claritzen, right? Claire, all of you, Theory, Paige. Okay. So the first door it opens is love. It is a yes. It is breaking the cycle of the BS, external validation, thinking we're supposed to be something enough or some certain way, right? That was an important door for me. It may or may not be for you. Okay. All right. We ready for the second door? All right. So the second door is then it built on that, which was paying forward for me the gift I received from the woman, Margaret Jonas, who wrote the book Holy Hunger that I found in the airport bookstore when I was in a mental health and physical health crisis. Okay. So I got to pay that. This is the call and response door. I got to pay that gift forward and still do to this day. It's like, I want to make sure my book is in the airport when someone is circling the drain, when someone's having the worst day of their life, when someone needs to laugh or to hear that they're not alone, or to have a strategy, or that whatever kind of book you're writing, fiction, nonfiction, self-help, thought leader book. I want to make sure that my book, and now in the work we do in Thought Leader Academy, that your book is in the metaphorical airport bookstore when somebody is in their moment, they need you, right? So if we just tell ourselves, oh, it's not worth it. It's so much time. It's so much money. It's so hard. I don't know what I'm doing. My third grade teacher didn't think I was good at English. Like, we got to let that go. I mean, you don't have to do anything. I'm just saying, for me, is a book worth it? If you just joined us, our topic today, the question I get asked a lot is, writing a book worth it in 2024? Is it worth it? So the second door it opened for me was that, like, I was able to start paying that gift forward. And I have received thousands of emails and physical letters in the mail and people coming to events that we do who have received something from a book that I had the gift of writing, and it helped them. And it gave them something the way that books have done for me. And that feels like really powerful and really good. And when I leave this planet, I want to know I gave it all. I left it all in the field, and the books will last far beyond us, right? So there's really a legacy door here too, right? Okay. So as we go through these, if you're just joining us, we're doing, is a book worth it? It's a question I get asked all the time. Is it worth it to write a book in 2024? So I'm sharing the 7 doors that have opened in the book from the books I've written. And if you're in the live audience, you're watching on social, just put the numbers of the doors if that number door is important to you too. The first door is, that we break a cycle of thinking we have to be good enough, or someone has to give us permission, or there's any kind of unworthiness gremlin. So that's number 1. And these are just doors for me. You're going to have your own, this is not an exhaustive, comprehensive list. Second door is the call and response. If you feel the spark and the tap to write a book, it's because I believe people need you and they need your message. And so the second door it opens is that you get to fulfill that calling on your life and that contribution that will last far beyond your life. Okay. All right. We ready for door number 3? Give me some 3s. If you're in the live audience, give me some 3s. Okay. So the third door that opened for me is, you know, I, because TV shows and media and podcasts and print magazines like to feature authors 80% more and pay authors 80% more than experts who don't have a book. It has opened up the door to, I've been on every major television station. I've been on Oprah, I've been on Today, I've been on Good Morning America, I've been on The View, I've been on Katie Couric, I've been on, oh my God, Ricky Lake, like I would just, like whatever, like all those shows, right? And that was an opportunity to carry, most of you wrote in the chat that there's a message, and the chat lit up here with, in our live audience of 333, right? It is, I have been speaking almost once a week this year, and I have reached out for not one of those speaking engagements. Every one of them has been inbound, and most of them are because someone heard about or read one of the books. And that kind of brought them to. So if that's a door you want your book to open, that might go in the column of worth it, right? We're doing is it worth it to write a book? Here are some doors that opened, right? And Oprah was the big one for me because I've loved her for so long, and it was the last week of her show, and it was my first book wasn't even done, but we got in while I was writing it. Okay. All right. So a fourth door that's opened is then the ability to impact people I would never have been able to reach in any other way, because the book, you know, people bought the book in India, people bought the book in Poland, people bought the book in London, in France, in Australia, in all over Europe, in Canada, the United States, Mexico, South America, all over the world. Yes, can people also find us on social media all over the world? Of course. Is the book the only way people can find us all over the world? Of course not. But the difference with the books is that right now in 2024, if you've been coming to our, different classes and things, or training with us in Thought Leader Academy, people need at least 9 hours of interactive time with you in order to get clear if you're their person, to invest in some kind of, if you have a coaching program, a consulting program, you have a practice, if someone's going to make a high ticket investment with you, they need 9 hours of interactive time. Now, you can do that over and over with your own time, or you can create quantum time by letting people have deep intimacy where it's not salesy and it's not marketing. It is your story. It is your expertise. It is your solutions. And someone has deep intimacy with you. And sometimes people will want to work with you before they've even finished the book. And there's not even a whole sales conversation because they already know what they need to know. They know your stories, they know the work you do, they know the results you give, or your thinking, or your methodology, or your the way you overcame a crisis if it's a memoir, or took an exciting journey if it's a memoir. Okay, so another door that opens is impact, right? Right. So that's 4. If you're playing along in the comments in the chat, you can say if that's a door you want to open and you want to be able to work with many, many, many more people and have people come to you already feeling connected, already feeling like they're in a relationship. Has anyone, those of you that have done books, say me in the comments or the chat, if you've had people feel like, I feel like I know you. I feel like I know you. People feel deep intimacy. My God, my first book, I'm talking about, my whole reproductive journey. It's like people feel like a lot of intimacy, Yeah. So Margaret's had that happen. Amy, those of you that are already published authors. Okay. Julie's in all 4 so far, 1 through 4. I love it. All right. Fifth door. Fifth door is that results in revenue. There is no question in my mind, there's no surprise in my mind that once I started publishing books, I went from that struggling 20K a year to 7 figures plus. Right? It's not an accident in my mind. It's not an accident that the books have been a huge strategic force in creating that ability to generate, revenue, build a team of, women that we support, that work on the team. Like there's so many incredible gifts. If revenue generation, some of you said that was important to you, attracting clients, having people invest more with you because you're an expert and you're seen as an expert, right? Alicia's like in for all 5, 1 through 5. Okay. Right. So that's a piece to consider. I'm just looking at my notes here. All right. The book absolutely is the reason. Like I said, door number 6 is getting to impact through the vehicle of speaking. Like I said, in addition to the media and the television shows and podcasts, being on real and live stages in front of, human beings and being able to serve and pour into people, the reason that it's easier to get booked as a speaker and paid as a speaker and impact more lives as a speaker, if you're like me and you love whether you're telling the story in a book or on a stage, it's still about impact and pouring into people and being a channel, right? And so number 6 is speaking at conferences, speaking at, one of the ones that I'm being considered for right now, they're considering buying the book for, hundreds of people that are coming, plus paying me to do the keynote. If that is a door you want to open for you, they want an author for this event. That was in the brief, like that the program director was told, find an author who has an inspiring book that our people will like and that could do a keynote. Right. So that's a door you might want to think about and consider. Yeah. Paige is like, I'm one with number 6. Okay, great. All right. And, I'm just going to call number 7, the 7th door, the destiny door. There's all the things that we can't even imagine can happen, whether that's getting to partner with people, because when you open the first 6 doors, you're at an event with someone that you suddenly realize could be an incredible, business partner in some way with you, or they're running an event or retreat, like, oh, wouldn't it be so cool to collaborate and co-host this? Or you are invited, someone else has like, oh, you start talking about your favorite podcast, like, oh my gosh, I used to work with, Brene Brown. Let me put you in touch. Right. So the destiny door of all the things, and the way you're going to know what you would love to see in the destiny door is what's on your vision board. A couple years ago, I would read the bios of the people I loved and admired, Gabby Bernstein and, Brene Brown and Mel Robbins, and I would read their bios. And one of the things that was in their bios, their biographies, right, when they get introduced, is like award winning. And I was like, God, I've never I'd gotten an Elle magazine book of the year nomination, which was amazing, but I didn't win one of these like national writing awards. And I really was working on my craft deeply at the time, really working on the mastery of the craft of writing and fiction. And that took me to a National Book Award nomination. Right. That was really exciting because it's like the Oscars, like even getting a nomination for some of the big awards is like a great thing that you can put in your bio. So maybe you could give a flying, what about awards. You don't give a care in the world, right? That doesn't need to be in your destiny door. But what do you care about? What would be amazing? Is there someone you do want to partner with, you co-create an event with, or go on each other's Instagrams with, or have the experience of speaking at an event with them? Right? The destiny doors, all the things that because of the first 6 doors that open can happen. So my question is, again, if you jumped in late, the question of today's episode is a book worth it? And the answer is going to come from, what do you want that book to do for you, others in the world? And then are the doors we've been discussing today, the seven doors that get to open up when we write a book and stand for that book and put a flag in the ground and show up and put the words on the page. And it isn't, it's not as easy as just doing a social media post, right? A book is a bigger project. We try to make it as painless, fun, and fast as possible, right? But what's on the other side? So what do you think? My question I'm going to leave you with today is, what do you think is going to be different from you when you have your first or next book out there, when you've really thought about the doors and your ideal outcomes? Because so many people have come to me, and I've been the person who wrote a whole book, published it, and realized it didn't do what I was hoping. And it's because I didn't do the work we're doing today in this episode and ask, what do I really want it to do? And then create the book that matches that vision. Because sometimes we just think, oh, I'm going to put myself in a story. I'm going to tell a story, but that's not necessarily going to open the doors that you want to, unless you've strategically thought about how to construct that book in a way that naturally and it magnetizes and allows those doors to open. So I want to hear those of you. Yeah, Martha, you like number 7, the magic that's created after the effort, right? It's the destiny door. It's the stuff we could never have imagined. I was speaking at an event last month, And I was seated next to this lovely woman at, like, they had a lunch for the speakers. And, she's next to me. So she seemed nice. We're talking. And it turns out that she does something that I've been wanting to hire someone to do for years and have never found someone that I connected with. Everyone I'd interviewed for this particular type of marketing service, I felt like was just not a good energetic fit. And she was like, if I could have created her out of a drawing, you know what I mean? And we will get to work here. Guess what she hates doing, but all her clients need? Hates helping them do the book part. She loves the marketing. She likes the launch. She likes getting them on all the stuff, but she does not enjoy putting the pieces of a book together. I could do it all day long. I love doing it with you all, right? So what's your takeaway today? Go ahead and put it in the comments of the chat. Is there a particular doorway you are going to really claim for yourself? And every time you feel like, is a book worth it? You're going to remember, I'm going to allow this book. I'm going to decide that this book is going to open this door for me. And I'm going to write the book that is best engineered to open that door. Yeah, Christina, if I save one life with my book, it's worth it. I could have wished I could have read my book when I was suffering. Exactly, Christina. That's door number 2. You're paying it for it. It's like you're giving your gift to the world, and you are going to save lives. I have no doubt your book's going to save lives. Yeah, Kelly, it's the paying it for the gift that, so that's the homework from today's episode. You're going to put your doorway that's most important to you right now. You're going to put it somewhere you can see it. And on the days you don't feel like writing, because my God, there are days when we will not feel like writing, or the days we don't think the writing's good, or the days when it's not good. Some days I just write some crap and it's just not that good. And that's okay, because the great pages are built on the backs of what I'll call the practice pages, right? Is there an aquarium list of the doorways, Anne-Marie? You mean like a list, or is there a list of the doorways? Yeah, well, this just came to me in a meditation. That's like, I was sort of feeling when people ask me, especially I've been speaking so much at events, and people say, is it really worth it to write a book? And so, yes, we can type this on up, and write it up. I'll send it to you guys in Thought Leader Academy and Mastery and everything. So, the 7 doorways, because maybe that's a cool thing to have up. In fact, I kind of might just put them up in my space to remind myself, it's like, these are the doors I want to walk through. Yeah, Amy knows someone will see themselves in her characters and feel hope. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So there are many more than 7 doorways. I just got very excited when I looked back and was asked this question so many times. And I thought, well, I started answering people. Well, here's 7 things that's done for me. Are those things that you're interested in? And if it is, then I think the answer is yes. So I want to hear those of you watching, if anyone got a hit, put a W for worth it, or you can write worth it in the comments or the chat if you feel like some of you are already, well into your book projects, but is it worth it to you? I don't have an attachment if it's worth it to you. I do love when people ask me this question, because it lets me refer back and realize, oh my God, like it's even more worth it than I remember some days. So I love the idea of, yes. I love that. Anne-Marie's talking about, 7 is connected to intuition, wisdom, revelation. So think about that as this bridge between the higher, mortal realm and the higher. I love that, Anne-Marie. Thank you so much for bringing that in. Okay, so very exciting to get to be in this conversation and fuel those of you that are already in your book project. Hopefully give some oomph to keep going. And those of you that are thinking about it, this might create some discernment of worth it, not worth it, because we have a lot of stuff we can do with our time. But I'm going to keep writing books. There's no question in my mind. I'm finishing one this summer. So those of you that want to get after it this summer, you can write with me, take the journey with me. If you aren't already in the May Bestselling Book Bootcamp and want to be, we have free passes for you. Jill, if you can share the link for people to register, and if we can add that into the comments on social, just put bestseller. You don't have to do it if you're in the live audience today, but those of you on social, just put bestseller in the comments or DM us bestseller on any of the platforms, and we'll make sure to get you a link so you can come actualize this. If you're in the middle of your book, use it to get some momentum and kick off a powerful summer. If you're thinking about starting a book, this is your next step. It's free. It's powerful. We have launched so many bestsellers out of this boot camp. I have lost count. I'm going to count them up at some point, but we've lost count. So there's the link. And team, if you could post that on the social platforms as well for anybody that wants it. I'm really excited for us let's all just take a minute to imagine all the doors opening. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's feel those doors opening, taking deep breaths. Beautiful. Great job, everybody.